Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, your thoughts on Andrew Tate. Do you disagree or agree with the things that he says in his videos? So with Andrew Tate, it's interesting. So this question was actually sent to me last week, and before I received this question, I actually had no idea who Andrew Tate was. So I did a little research on him, and I wanted to see, okay, well, because I've had actually a few clients ask me my opinions on Andrew Tate. And for those of you that don't know, Andrew Tate was a world kickboxing champion who is now turned into this major social media influencer. He's got a lot of money, and he's done quite well in life. I think he's 40 or 41 years old now. So I had to do a little research before I could answer this question, make an educated opinion on Andrew Tate. And so from what I've seen, and granted, it hasn't been that much, but from what I've seen, I've watched a few of his podcasts. I've seen him in a few interviews. I've really tried my best to stay away from clips and snippets, because the problem when you see clips and snippets is you only see one side of the story. So if you want to really make an educated and informed opinion on something, you should really do your research, right? So I don't just take one side. But from everything I've seen with Andrew Tate, there's things that I like about him and there's things that I don't like about him. The things that I don't like about him, I truly believe he's a sexist. I do. He does not believe in gender equality as much as he says he does. It's quite obvious that he does not. He believes men are here and women are here. Says time and time again, once a woman hits 25, they're not as, what was the quote? I can't remember the exact quote, so I'm not going to quote him, but they're not as desirable per se as they are when they're 18 or 19. He believes that men are smarter than women. He uses the comparison that if you take the top 20 smartest people in the world, it'll be men. Again, I disagree with a lot of the things that he says when it comes to men and women. A lot of the things, most of the things that he says. And the reason is because I work with a lot of women who are incredibly intelligent women. I have two of my clients are CEOs of the companies that they work for. They are smart women. So I'm not going to sit here and agree with him on that at all. There are some things, though, that I do agree with him with. Well, one is building personal wealth, for sure. There's some things that I can relate to with Andrew Tate. One of the things is that he built his money all by himself. He had no help. And I look at the way that I've come up same way. He constantly talks about people who bitch and complain about not making enough money. If you're going to bitch and complain about that, go make your money, right? Don't expect a handout. If you don't like your job, quit it. These are all things that I can relate to. So I can agree with some things he says. I can also understand why he's been banned off social media platforms like Twitter, right? You have to remember, with great power comes great responsibility. So he doesn't just have a couple followers or a couple people watching his videos like me. This guy is very famous. He's got millions of followers, millions of views. So with great power comes great responsibility. And you have to be very careful what you say. I'm not suggesting that you censor everything you say, but you have to be very careful because things can be taken out of context. And that's why I advise people, when they do their research on people like Andrew Tate, don't just watch a couple YouTube clips of him saying something that women are stupid or something like that and say, oh, he's a sexist. That's not why I believe he's a sexist. It's because I watched his interviews. I watched his podcast. That's how I formed my opinion that he's a sexist. But just by forming and saying, well, he's an asshole, and maybe he's a bit of an asshole, but by forming your opinion on watching a few YouTube clips, I mean, that's not really a educated opinion to make, right? So like I said, there are certain things like gender equality. He does definitely, I don't believe as much as he might say he believes in it. I don't believe that he believes in it. I think he believes that men are superior than women. I really do. And I completely disagree with that. 100% I disagree with that. When it comes to building a business, building a brand, working hard, those are all things that I can relate to. So I agree with those components that he talks about. Another thing I like with him is that he is someone who is active and fit. It's obvious he takes care of his body, takes care of his health. that to me is someone who, again, who I can relate to. So when I look up to somebody who is doing really well in life, if they're financially wealthy, for example, and I say, well, yeah, they're financially wealthy, but how fit and healthy are they actually? Like actual healthy are they? Because a lot of these guys who make a lot of money, they got these big pot bellies, and I personally don't really respect them. Like, yeah, you're making a lot of money, but you're not really taking care of your health. So I respect someone who can do both. I'm not saying I don't respect people who don't make a lot of money. I'm just saying that when I look up to somebody, when I admire someone, I'm like, wow, this person is not only making a lot of money, they're taking care of their health, and they treat people right. Right? They don't talk down to people. They don't make people feel bad about themselves. And they certainly don't say that men are smarter than women or men are more powerful than women or any of that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I respect Andrew Tate. I don't have any hate for him, but it's not someone that I would look up to or follow on social media myself. The people that I tend to follow, the influencers that I tend to follow, are people who are doing well in life, both financially and personally, right? They're building solid relationships. They treat people well. Yeah, they make good money, and you shouldn't hate on the rich. Never hate on the rich. You shouldn't hate money. You should love money. You should be chasing money. But I don't like when people put other people down or make people feel bad about themselves because they're in a certain situation, right? That's not cool. Okay. So if you want my personal opinion on Andrew Tate, after I followed him for about a week and watched some of his interviews and videos, I don't have any aspirations or plans to continue to follow him moving forward. I've pretty much gathered my opinion based on what he has to say. It's not someone that I'm going to promote on my Instagram. Not that it would matter anyway. He's doing well on his own. He doesn't need my help or anyone else's help for that matter. But if you haven't heard of him and you want to check him out, I mean, in simple Google search, watch a few YouTube videos, you can form your own opinion. But yeah, a lot of his policies and a lot of things that he believes in, I do not believe in, guys. So I'm not going to jump on the Andrew Tate bandwagon and start quoting inspirational quotes from him because, sorry, he's not someone that I can respect in that matter. Like I said, I'm not going to disrespect him, but it's not someone that I look up to. All right. Next question. Hi, Nick. I was wondering if it's okay to have 2 packets of Splenda each day. I'd like to add this to my morning coffee, but my coworker is telling me that too much sucralose can kill you. Is this true? No. Too much sucralose is not going to kill you, or at least there's no long-term studies that have proven that. Because if there were, they'd take it off the market, or the FDA would slap a huge warning sign on anything that had sucralose in it, which they have not done. So by FDA standards, sucralose is relatively safe to consume as long as it's consumed in low, moderate dosages. Now, if you're someone who is going to be adding, never mind packets, but baking with Splenda, like adding cups of Splenda to the stuff that you make, or you're having tons of the diet foods. And I always talk about how you should not be consuming diet this or diet that. I don't like diet foods. Even I'm really not a big fan of having like these Weight Watcher meals and stuff like that, or these low fat, little pastries that come in a box. No. But if you're someone who is consuming a little bit of sucralose every now and then, I honestly don't think it's going to do any harm. And I've talked about this before, even with aspartame. If you're someone who has like a Diet Coke, once a month, twice a month, I don't think it's going to do any harm. I really don't. Now, if you're someone who's drinking 10 liters of Diet Coke a day, yeah, that's going to do some harm as far as the aspartame is concerned. In my opinion, it will. Long term, yes, I think it's going to have some adverse side effects. Same with sucralose. If you're someone who has sucralose in every single meal and you're constantly adding sweeteners to your coffee or your tea or your oatmeal, and then yeah, I think that could long term have some adverse side effects. Now, again, we don't know for sure because those studies have not been done, but it's not something that I would feel comfortable knowing what I know about sucralose now that I would be consuming tons of it. With that said, though, there are times where I'll go for a coffee meeting at Starbucks, and Starbucks doesn't really carry stevia. So what I'll usually throw in my coffee if I go to a meeting at Starbucks, I'll throw in a packet of Splenda. I don't really feel guilty about it. It's 1 packet of Splenda. I use it maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. But the preferred choice, and I try to get most of my clients doing this, is using products like stevia, which is a natural sweetener, of course. The problem with stevia is that it's too sweet for a lot of people. So a lot of people will say they don't like the aftertaste of stevia. So, it's something that you have to get used to. But as far as sucralose killing you, no, I have not seen any concrete evidence to support that claim. And as I said, if there were, you can guarantee the FDA would have something to say about it, but they don't. So you can go on the FDA site, you can Google sucralose, and you can see for yourself, and I'll take my word for it. Again, it's not something that I'd recommend you consume on a daily basis or even on a meal to meal basis, something that every once in a while you want to have a little bit of sucralose, and even with the aspartame, you want to have it every once in a while. I don't see any harm in it. That's my viewpoint. Take it as you will. But as far as sucralose killing you, no. Okay, next question. Hi Nick, is it okay to cook with canola oil? Um, I get a lot of questions on canola oil. It's funny because I don't use canola oil. The only oil that I use is extra virgin olive oil, MCT oil, or macadamia nut oil. Not all three. I'll use one or the other or the other. I usually mix between the three. I rotate. You have to watch when you're using oils. First of all, oils are very calorically dense, right? They're very high in calories. But the nice thing with using oils like MCT oil, extra virgin olive oil, macadamia nut oil, they contain loads of antioxidants, sorry. Whereas canola oil does not. So canola oil is not my preferred choice of oil to use. I never include it on a client's nutritional plan. I think there's better oils to use out there. But the one thing I want to say when you're using oils is that whenever I tell people to use oils in their plan, I tell them don't cook with the oils. You want to keep the oils cold. So when you're cooking with the oils, they lose a lot of their good healthy fats and the nutrients in those healthy fats. So I always tell people cook your meal and then put a tablespoon or a teaspoon, whatever's on the person's nutritional plan, of extra virgin olive oil on top of your meal once it's cooked. Done. Same thing with MCT oil, same thing with macadamia nut oil. But I would not recommend using canola oil. You can also use grapeseed oil. That's all right too. Avocado oil is good, but canola oil would be at the very bottom of that list. And just for the reason that it's guys, it doesn't have the same antioxidants as the other oils. And at the same time, you have to remember when you're cooking with certain oils, they lose their fats. So if you are going to cook with an oil, my recommendation is to use macadamia nut oil. Okay. Or you can use some extra virgin olive oil. But like I said earlier, I would recommend if you're going to consume oil, have it cold, just put it on top of your salad, put it on top of your rice, but just have it cold. You'll get way more out of that oil. The nutrients will be much better for you. And I actually do recommend consuming at least 1 tablespoon of either extra virgin olive oil, MCT oil, or macadamia nut oil, or avocado oil if you like. I don't really like avocado oil, but it's fine. It's healthy. At least once a day. Some people like coconut oil. I have no problem with coconut oil either. It's a little bit more calorically dense, so I'll tend to stick to the 3 that I mentioned. But for myself personally, to give you an idea, like right now I do about 3 to 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil a day. And what I do is I just add that tablespoon already onto my cooked food, mix it in with my rice and my cod. Tastes great. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Do you have any tricks that you use in order to motivate yourself to go to the gym? Ever since COVID restrictions have been lifted, I'm finding it really difficult to stay consistent with my workouts. So I personally don't use any self-motivation tips to get myself to the gym. Going to the gym now has just become a daily part of my day-to-day routine. So I don't think of it like, oh, now I got to go work out. I got to pump myself up mentally. I've got to down this pre-workout, or I got to take a double shot of espresso. The way that I've structured my workouts into my day, I treat it just like any other appointment or any other meeting. So if I have to do a workout at 9 a.m., I do my workout at 9 a.m. I don't miss it. And the reason it's implemented in me. And maybe it's because I've done it for years now that it's just part of my day. I think of it just like a paid training session. So I'm like, nope, now it's my time to work out. And trust me, many times, I would say at least 50% of the times, I don't feel like training. I don't want to train. I'm tired. I'm stressed. Things go on in my life just like they go on in your life. But because I've integrated it into part of my daily routine, it no longer is something that I have to think about. It's just like, oh, it's time to work out. It's 9 o'clock or it's 10 o'clock or whatever time it is, time to do my workout. And I structure it in a way that I say, okay, now this workout is going to be, I book off from, let's say 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. That is my 1 hour workout. That's it. Once 10 a.m. hits, I'm done. The workout's done. No matter where I am in the workout, it's done. So when you structure it that way, it becomes a little bit easier. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of people hire personal trainers is for that accountability, right? And so for a lot of my clients, they don't have that motivation to go to the gym on their own. A lot of my clients know how to work out. They know how to do the exercise program. But having that appointment with myself or with Charlene, it just actually keeps them more accountable, right? So that's an extra incentive for them to go to the gym. Plus, they're paying for the session. So that's definitely an incentive to go to the gym. And it's extra motivation because you know you have a meeting with someone, you don't want to let that person down. That person has blocked time out of their day for you. So there's that extra motivation. But I know in the past, when I was trying to really get myself into working out more and more and forcing myself to go to the gym, I would watch every once in a while, I'd watch YouTube videos. This is when I used to compete, just to motivate me. Maybe I watched some videos of a bodybuilder I was following, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's got some motivational videos up there as well. That helps. Even anything about like business too. Like I listen to a lot of motivational tapes, our YouTube podcasts from motivational speakers who are about, business for making financially fit, right? Business influencers. That's another way. I use them to help me motivate myself to work on my business. So I think that helps too. Watching people on YouTube, those podcasts, some of them work really well. Another thing, if you can't afford a trainer, work out with a friend, right? That person, I think accountability is huge. So not only is accountability going to keep you going to the gym and keep you consistent with your workouts, it's also going to motivate you because it's an outside motivating factor, knowing that you have an appointment with either your trainer or your friend, your family member, whoever. You don't want to let that person down. So regardless of how you're feeling, you're going to go. And if you can, over time, try to integrate it into part of your day, just like I have. I have clients that purposely schedule their workout in the middle of their day because they know, all right, this is meeting number 5 or 6. That's with Nick. I meet him at 12 o'clock. You do my workout, go back to work. So a lot of people do it that way too, as opposed to putting their workout at 6 in the morning because they can hit the snooze button and just send me a text, not coming in today. So I have a lot of clients that do that as well. So structure your workout in throughout your day where it works for you and put it into your schedule, guys, and no excuse. Treat it like you're getting paid for that session, just like you're getting paid by the hour or paid by the appointment or however you structure your business. But that's what I would do. Because honestly, if you just put that into your workout into your day-to-day schedule and say, no, that's it. It's in there. It's an appointment. I can't miss it. It becomes easier not to miss those workouts, regardless of how unmotivated you are to go to the gym that day. I personally don't work off motivation. I'm just a very disciplined person. Regardless if I feel like shit, if I feel great, if I wake up in a good mood, if I wake up in a bad mood, I don't miss my workout. Period. All right, next question. Hey, Nick, what's your opinion on lunges? I don't feel they are much of a mass builder, so I rarely do them. Do you ever do them in your leg routines? I have been doing walking lunges in my leg routines for the past 15 years. They've been a staple. To me, lunges are just as important as squats. And you're right, they're not a mass builder. Squats are a mass builder, absolutely. But what lunges do, their lunges are so beneficial, whether they're alternating lunges, whether they're reverse barbell lunges, whether they're depression lunges, elevation lunges, drag lunges, they're all beneficial. And the reason why is because lunges allow you to create more mobility in your hip flexors and your hip abductors. Okay. They also allow you to create a little bit more flexibility in your gluteus maximus and your gluteus medius. So when you're in the squat rack, I find that by incorporating lunges into my own programs, as well as my clients' programs, it allows them to not only go deeper into their squats, but allows them to keep their form, especially when they're struggling. If you have tight hip flexors and you're trying to do a squat, I can tell you this from watching people squat for 20 plus years now, what tends to happen is people tend to round forward. And it has nothing to do, well, sometimes it does, but rarely it has to do with a weak lower back. It's usually because their hip flexors or their hip abductors or their glutes or all three are so tight, it's causing them to lean forward when they squat. And I'm sure you've seen this if you go to a commercial gym, you see people squatting all the time and they're rounding themselves forward. So they're putting a lot of strain on that L4, L5 region in their lower back. So absolutely. Whenever I get a new client or we're working with a new client, I don't even get them into the squat rack until about 2 weeks, ever. I know there's a lot of trainers that like to assess someone's squat. That's not my style though. What I usually get clients who are brand new to the gym or haven't worked out in a long time doing, I get them to do a lot of lunges, tons. You talk to any of my clients when they first started with me, they'll tell you I had them doing alternating lunges for like 15, 20 minutes before we even start with squats, or we wouldn't even do squats for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Because I think it's so important to build a base and have that mobility and that flexibility. And that's what lunges do. Another thing I find though, if you're talking from an aesthetics point of view with lunges, they absolutely are not a mass builder. I will agree with you on that, but they do provide a little bit more muscle mass in those hamstrings and glutes. Absolutely. Because if you watch someone lunge and they're wearing like say booty shorts or they're wearing really short shorts, you can see the hamstrings engaged. You can. So I really believe that lunges are so important to add into routine because they're what we call more of an isolateral movement too. So you're working one side independently. So the left can't help the right and the right can't help the left. So you're balancing out each side. If all you do are squats, well, let's say you're right-handed and your dominant side is your right side. More often than not, you're going to be pushing when you're squatting with your right side over your left, especially when you start to fatigue. Now, that could be very dangerous because that could create some muscular imbalances. So that's why it's so important to add what we call compound movements, which are things like squats, leg press, hack squats, in conjunction with things like barbell lunges, walking lunges, depression lunges, and so on, because you are working the body as a whole, and then you're working it independently. You're cutting the body down the middle when you're doing lunges, right? You're working your left and you're working your right. So yeah, I think lunges are crucial. I put them into every single person's program that I work with, everyone, including myself. I sometimes mix it up. I'll give them, like I said, walking lunges. I'll give them static lunges. I'll give them barbell lunges. I'll give them dynamic lunges, but I mix it up. But depending on what the person's goals are, gender, male, female, if they're training for a contest, if they're just training for overall health and fitness, depends what they're working for, their goals, every so on. But yes, lunges are a staple in my leg workout, and they're a staple in every single client's workout that I design. Okay. Next question. Okay. Hi, Nick. What do you tell your clients who want to get in shape but aren't willing to put in the time needed to achieve the results they want? Good question. I tell them to be realist, right? If I want to make $1 million in 1 year, I cannot just sit on my ass and sit back and watch YouTube all day and just think that $1 million is going to come to me, right? I don't care. You can watch all the inspirational videos I was talking about earlier, how to make money, how to get out there and just don't make money, take money, and all this stuff. But unless I'm willing to put in the time and effort that it takes to make that $1 million, I'm not going to make a cent, right? So when it comes to the gym, I tell my clients, I'm like, you have to be a realist. You have to actually say, okay, if I want a six-pack and I want to get 18-inch biceps, let's just say, right? That's my goal. But I can only work out once a week. Am I going to get a six-pack and 18-inch or 16-inch biceps? Probably not. I might get some definition for sure. I might lose a little bit of weight around my waist, and I might get a little bit of size on my arms. But the reality is, if I'm not consistent with my workouts day in, day out, working out at least 4 to 5 times a week, the results are not going to be the same. No. So I compare it to making money. If you're not willing to put into work and put in the time and put in the effort, no, you might get some results. Like if I want to make $1 million, but I only want to work once a day, and I only work like 3 hours a day, I might make $1 million, but chances are pretty low that I will, especially if I'm just doing a startup business, right? That's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of stress. But if I'm only willing to put in 3 hours a week to get that $1 million, chances are very, very low that I'm going to get that $1 million by the end of the year. So the same thing comes to your fitness. If you're only going to work out for 60 minutes once a week, twice a week, you will get some results. Yes, you will. But are they going to be noticeable results? Probably not. Maybe if you're someone who is really out of shape and you never went to the gym and then you started working out with a trainer once or twice a week, because I've had clients like that too, and they're like, oh, they've noticed results. But then when they want to take it to that next level, that's when I tell them, okay, guys, well, you have an option here. You can actually stay where you are and stay stagnant. You're holding pretty steady. You're not putting on any weight, but you're not progressing. Or you could take up your workouts and go an extra 2 or 3 times a week and then really watch how your body transforms. And as I said, it doesn't have to be with me. I'm not trying to make a sale. I tell them you can go work out on your own, but just by adding those extra workouts in, then you can start splitting up the muscle groups more, giving a little bit more volume to each muscle group. So yeah, you're going to get more results. So treat it like a business. The more that you work on it, the better the more that business is going to grow, if you're doing it properly, obviously. So for my clients who don't want to put in the time and effort, the ones who only do work out once or twice a week, they understand. They're not idiots. They get it. They're adults. They get it. They're like, I know I'm not going to get great results, but this is what I can afford to do right now. Just not even financially, just time-wise. They have time restraints. Okay, no problem. And they're fine with that. And that's okay. But if you really want to take your physique and your health up to that next level, in my opinion, yeah, you're going to have to be in the gym a little bit more than once a week or twice a week. You're going to have to be in there 4 or 5 times a week. And that's when I really notice people really start to see the results, when they're doing that extra 4th or 5th workout. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, now I can see, because we can do more with them, right? If I'm doing 2 workouts with someone a week, I have to do an upper body and a lower body. That's not very much. But if I see someone 4 or 5 times a week, oh man, I can give them a chest workout on day 1. I can give them a shoulder workout on day 2. I can give them a back workout day 3. I can give them arm workout day 4. I can give them a leg workout day 5. Give them the weekends off. Then the results come. And again, it doesn't have to be with me. I could do 3 days with them or 2 days with them, and they could do 3 days on their own. But that's when I see the results. That's just the reality. Okay, next question. Okay, this one. So this question I saw last week as well. So let me give the question first, and I'll explain why I didn't answer it last week. Hi, Nick. What are your thoughts on using PB Fit as an alternative to using peanut butter? Okay, so I was not very familiar with PB Fit, kind of like Andrew Tate. So I knew PB2, which was an alternative to peanut butter. So I thought, is it the same thing as PB2? And there were some similarities, but they weren't exactly the same. So what I did was I actually ordered the product online, PB Fit 2. I ordered 2 jars of them. And I'm someone who consumes peanut butter every day. So I consume probably about 6 to 7 tablespoons of peanut butter a day. I have a lot of fat in my diet. It's that combined with the olive oil. I have a lot of fats in my diet, healthy fats. I said, well, I'll give this a try. I want to read up about it. And it's everything in there seemed pretty natural. Yes, it is a processed product, but they didn't add any sucralose or anything to the product. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. It's ground peanuts, right? So essentially, the claim is 87% less fat than natural peanut butter. And that's actually quite true, because it only has 1 gram of fat per tablespoon, whereas a natural tablespoon of peanut butter contains 8 grams of fat. Keep in mind, though, we're talking healthy fat. From a caloric perspective, natural peanut butter contains 100 calories per tablespoon. This, on the other hand, contains 35 grams of, I don't know if you can see that, 35 grams of, or 35 calories per tablespoon. Protein's a little bit lower, obviously, because they've cut it in half of the calories. So the protein's only going to be 4 grams. Your carbohydrates are about the same at 3 grams per tablespoon. That's what is in the natural peanut butter as well. But as far as taste, it doesn't taste like peanut butter. It doesn't. It doesn't taste bad, but it doesn't taste like peanut butter. So what I usually do is I mix 1 tablespoon of peanut butter into my oatmeal in the morning. So I was putting 1 tablespoon of this in, and it tasted okay. It didn't taste terrible. And it's something that I would throw in for someone I'm working with who's looking to lose weight. The ingredients, guys, so the ingredients are peanut flour, coconut palm sugar, and salt. That's it. Ground peanuts with some coconut palm sugar. So it's not terrible for you, right? There's no added like sucralose or anything like that in there. So if you are someone who is on a calorically restricted diet right now and you're trying to lose weight, this could be a good substitution for natural peanut butter. Is it something that I'm going to throw into my nutritional plans? It could be something that I throw in for my clients who are prepping for a contest, or I have, for example, 2 clients right now getting ready for weddings in January. So it could be something I add into their diet, especially if I work with people who have problems with peanut butter. And what I mean by problems are people who eat too much of it. You know, if I tell one client, okay, you can have 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, they take a heaping tablespoon of peanut butter. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a tablespoon. That's like 3 tablespoons just layered on top of 1 tablespoon. So if you're someone who struggles with peanut butter and you tend to eat too much of it, this would probably be a good alternative to have. It's probably not something that I'm going to keep in my diet on a regular basis. But again, before I make an opinion on it, I want to try it, right? I can't just say, well, yeah, it's great, or no, it's not good. I'm going to try it. I'm going to read the facts about it. I'm going to read the nutritional label. I'm going to do some research on it myself and say, okay, is this something I feel comfortable including in my diet? Am I going to include it in a client's diet? It's not going to kill you. Don't worry. For those of you who are worried about the sucralose and the death, and that's not going to happen. It's fine. It's FDA approved. Does it taste like peanut butter? Like I said, not really, no. But if you are someone who's trying to lose weight and peanut butter is an issue for you, the PB Fit is a great buy. You can buy it on Amazon. You can also buy it at Costco. I was at Costco yesterday, and I saw it at Costco as well. So you can buy it in Costco. I don't think it's the same company that makes PB2. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure for sure, but it's actually, in my opinion, from a caloric and from a fat perspective, this is actually better than PB2. So it's called PB Fit. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Costco, and I think it's like, I can't remember. I think it's like $15 or something like that. All right. Next question. Okay. Hi, Nick. What's more important to look for if I want to lose weight? Overall caloric intake are the types of calories that I'm consuming. I see so much conflicted information online, so would like to know what you think. I think I've had this question a few times in the past. So if your goal is to lose fat and build muscle, you cannot just look at overall caloric consumption. You can't. Okay. And there's a few reasons for that, because you're not just trying to lose fat or lose weight off the scale. You're trying to lose fat and build muscle. And you want to build muscle because the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is, the more calories you burn in a rested state. So muscle is a good thing. We want muscle. You don't just want to go to the gym and be this cardio bunny. It's not good. Okay. And there's also numerous benefits to building muscle. One of them, it prevents arthritis, can prevent osteoarthritis. It helps keep your body strong. So once you're older, if you have a nasty fall or a slip, you're not just going to break something because you're frail and weak, right? So there's tons of benefits to building muscle. But I've always talked about, and I've stressed this time and time again, that it's more important to look at the micronutrients rather than just the macronutrients of the foods that you're consuming. And this is why I've always been really against the if it fits your macros diet. I've hated that diet from day one. And those of you who've been a client of mine or who followed me online for the past 10, 15 plus years, I've always spoken very negatively about that diet. I don't like it. So you want to fuel your body properly. Think of it if you're driving around in a luxury car. You got a Ferrari. You're not going to fill your Ferrari with cheap gas, right? So treat your body like you would treat a Ferrari. You're going to fuel it properly, fuel it with proper nutrients. Sure, it's okay to have some fries or pizza or burger every once in a while, but if that's your daily consumption because it fits your macros, what is that doing internally? You might lose weight, but you're certainly not going to build that much quality, dense, lean muscle. And who knows what you're doing internally, like I said, to your organs, your kidneys, your liver. So I always tell clients it's more important to look at the micronutrients, which is the quality of the food that you're consuming. Now, with that said, at the same time, we do want to lose some fat. So we have to be careful. We don't just want to say, well, brown rice is super healthy, so I'm going to sit there and have 4 cups of it in one meal. No, I'm not saying do that. You have to be reasonable. You do have to practice portion control. But at the end of the day, if your goal is to transform your physique by building solid lean muscle, losing stubborn body fat, and increasing your overall metabolic effect, it's crucial that you pay attention to not just the macronutrients of the foods you're consuming, but the micronutrients. And if you're not sure or you're uncertain how to read food labels, don't feel stupid. I mean, I took courses on this. I had to learn. I didn't know. I thought I knew. I thought, well, I could watch a few YouTube videos or no, like when you really focus in learning on dietary nutrition, there's a whole different component to it. So you also have to know your type of body type yourself, your activity level. Do you have a thyroid issue? Do you not have a thyroid issue? Those things, what types of medications you're on. So those are all factors you have to take into consideration when you're designing a nutritional plan for somebody, for yourself, right? So to answer that question, it's, in my opinion, again, it's not going to be the caloric consumption. Yes, that does matter to a degree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can eat all the food in the world as long as it's clean, you won't get fat. Of course, you could get fat, but it's the micronutrients, the quality of the food that's the most important, because if you're eating good whole foods, whole clean foods, your workouts are going to be that much better, right? You're going to train more intensely, which is going to equate to more muscle mass. You're going to sleep better, which is going to keep cortisol levels low. So it does matter. And that's why I'm always a huge advocate of telling people, okay, look, you have to clean this diet up because right now it's not looking too good. It's like living in a messy house, right? You want to live in a nice, clean house. Nobody wants to live in filth. So don't feed your body with filth. All right. Nick, what do you think is the number one reason as to why so many people don't get the results they want from working out? Lack of consistency. Yeah, easily lack of consistency, unrealistic expectations, and lack of consistency. There's a lot of people that go to the gym and who haven't worked out or in a long time or have never worked out. And they think that if they go to the gym once or twice a week for 3 weeks, they're going to get these amazing results. And that's not going to happen. One of the things I tell new clients when they work with me, I say, don't expect to see any significant results until at least 6 weeks. And I hate putting timelines on things, but that's what I tell people, because I want them to have a realistic expectation. And the reason I say that is because, look, if you've never been to the gym or you're someone who's been off the gym for 5 years, and you come back, The first 2 or 3 weeks are going to be a lot of trial and error. You're going to be doing very light weights. You're going to be very sore. You're not going to be able to use full range of motion on certain exercises. So those 3 or 4 weeks are kind of like just breaking your body in. And then once your body has gone into that routine and now your muscle fibers are stronger, your stabilizers are working, your mobility is increased, your flexibility is improved. Now we can start adding on the muscle. And now your cardiovascular endurance is obviously improved because you've been training consistently for 3 to 4 weeks. And now you're going to start seeing the results. The problem is a lot of people give up after that 3 to 4 weeks because they're not seeing the results. And usually what happens is they're not as consistent after that happens. Yeah, maybe they were really gung-ho the first like 3 or 4 weeks and they're training 4 or 5 times a week in the gym, but all of a sudden they're too sore, or I'm not seeing any results, so I'm just going to give this up now. And then that consistency stops. So that's the main reason I see people not getting results in the gym is because they don't have that consistency. Another thing too, and that's the main thing, but another thing I notice is people tend to jump ship too quickly from one thing to another. So they'll come in, they'll start doing, let's say, a bodybuilding split. Oh, after 3 weeks, I don't see any results, so I'm going to go do CrossFit. Oh, I don't see any results, so 3 weeks later, I'm going to go do some Taekwondo. It's like, stick with one thing. I think that's what we're lacking as a society now. People can't just stay focused and have that tunnel vision that I had when I was coming up. And I was like, no, this is what I want to do. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to learn how to excel at this. And I'm going to learn, okay, I want to build my chest. I want to build my shoulders. This is the routine I need to do. How am I going to do this properly? How am I going to structure this properly? There was a lot of trial and error, tons. I made tons of mistakes when I was first learning to do this on my own. But over the years, I learned how to build a foundation. I learned, okay, so I learned about glycogen receptors, right? I learned how to fuel my body properly, pre-workout, post-workout, how to sleep properly. Like, these are all things that you have to like really take into consideration if you're trying to transform your physique or you're just trying to better your health. So it's the consistency is the main thing, but it's also the jumping ship too quickly. And I think that's a problem I see with a lot of the younger generation now. They just can't stay focused on one thing. Just fucking focus for just give me 3 months, focus. And I guarantee if you stick with something, they say it takes 21 days to develop a habit. I definitely believe in that. But I don't believe you start to see results from that habit until I said like 6 to 7 weeks. I really don't. Physical results. You might notice like all of a sudden, like, yeah, if you're say you're doing cardio on a regular basis, you're doing a run or you're using the elliptical trainer for 30 minutes a day. Yeah, you might notice your cardiovascular endurance improves quite quickly. You might notice that you're a little bit stronger, but any serious like physical transformations in 3 weeks? No, I don't think it's going to happen. But as long as you go in knowing that and your expectations are realistic, I think you're going to do quite well. So as long as you're consistent, keep your expectations realistic, and develop fucking tunnel vision, stay focused on what you want to accomplish and say, okay, this is the route I'm going to go with, I think you're going to succeed. Yes. All right. Last question of the Q&A. Nick, help me make my decision. Which gym should I join once the fitness world on Granville Street closes? Equinox or Trevor Linden? Looking forward to working with you again next month. Okay, so this question is from my client, Greg, who does contest preps with me. He lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. He also works out at the Fitness World, which is across the street from my location. I mentioned Fitness World on the YouTube. Well, it's not really a podcast. I guess we're doing more of like a Q&A. So the Q&A last week about their closure of the facility across from me and how they're taking equipment out. And anyway, if you don't know, you can go back to that Q&A last week. I mentioned it pretty early on in the episode. So yes, so Fitness World is closing on Granville Street. They do have other locations throughout the Lower Mainland that you can use. From what I hear, those locations are going to be a little bit smaller, probably a little more crowded, and the equipment might not be at the same high quality as the one that was on Granville Street. So I can see why you're probably a little pissed off with Fitness World right now. I know you are from talking to you earlier, so I assume that's why you're trying to choose between Trevor Linden or Equinox. I have trained at both gyms. They are completely different gyms. Equinox, for example, that's a global chain. They're all over the world. They're in New York, right? They're in LA. I think they have an Equinox now in China. I don't know for sure, but I heard they have a few Equinoxes now in like Southeast Asia as well. But I know they're all throughout North America anyway. So it's a huge chain. And I believe the one in Vancouver is about $230, $240 a month, which might seem a lot for a membership for a commercial gym. And I think one of the reasons they price it point at that is because, first of all, that includes all their group classes, right? As far as I understand it, you get to go unlimited group classes and you get to use your facility. You get towel service. I believe you can get hot towel service. So it's like going to a very plush club, right? And Trevor Linden, on the other hand, that would be more of a, I think the membership cost is like $20 or $25 a month. And obviously, you're going to have a lower grade quality of equipment there. It's going to be more crowded because it's more cost effective. So you have to kind of scale this, and I'm pretty sure they don't have towel service, or I didn't see it when I was there. So you have to kind of weigh out, okay, what's more important to me? Now, I think that one of the problems with Equinox is they don't have a large variety of exercise equipment. Like I said, they're more focused on building group class training, right? It's like my personal training studio. We don't have a huge arrangement of exercise equipment, right? We're a personal training studio. So we have your basics, we have your squat racks, we have your barbells, we have your dumbbells, we have your kettlebells. We have a few cable machines, but that's not what our focus is on because we're training people. We don't want to put them on a machine. Now, if you're going to a commercial gym, I can understand why you want to use some hammer strength machines, maybe a few cable pulleys and stuff like that. Now, if you're looking to do that, I don't think actually either gym is a good choice. I really don't, because I've seen it. And that's not to badmouth either gym, but I think Equinox is good for people who want to do unlimited group classes. And they don't really like to work it on their own, even though you can work it on your own. They do have a weight room, but the weight room I saw there, it's not something that I would pay $230 to use. And then when you look at a gym like Trevor Linden, that type of gym is way too crowded for me. Like, I'll pay $200 to use a gym, no problem, but I'm not going to pay, I don't want to pay $20 to use a gym that I can't use anything because it's so busy. So I personally, if it were me, I probably would choose neither. I think I'd look for a Fitness World that, because at least with, I know a Fitness World, a lot of their equipment is good, like it's good quality equipment. I would just try to go in during hours when it's not too busy. Unfortunately, downtown Vancouver, where our options are limited when it comes to commercial gyms, as most of you know who live in this area. It's very expensive. Commercial real estate is super expensive. I can tell you this right now because we're looking to expand and we're looking at different locations, and the cost of commercial real estate is even right now, post-COVID, if you're looking in industrial real estate, it's very expensive. And I know the argument is, well, Vancouver's commercial real estate is 7% vacancy. It's the highest it's been in years. That may be true, but you have to keep in consideration they're talking about office real estate. So if you're someone like myself who's looking for gym space, you're at a disadvantage because that space is still high in demand. So it is very expensive. So it's really hard to get a 5,000 square foot facility like you can get out in, say, Coquitlam or Port Moody, or more out in the suburban areas of Vancouver, British Columbia, right? It's very hard. So you're going to have limited space to use. So if it were me, I would just try to maybe go to a Fitness World and work out there and try to find times like where it's not peak hours. I might change my schedule around. Well, I know 5 o'clock is going to be busy. Well, maybe I'll go at 8 o'clock in the morning. I might have to rearrange my work schedule, but I'll make it work somehow. I'm not going to go sit there at 5 o'clock and not be able to use anything, get frustrated, get pissed off, and not have a good workout. Another option, you can always come and train at my facility. Just saying, that's why it's a private training facility, right? You don't have to wait for anything, but of course you pay more for that, right? So it's all about what you can budget for, your financial restraints, all that stuff. So comparing those two gyms, it's not really a good comparison. It's kind of comparing like Louis Vuitton versus Walmart. Like, there's no really comparison. They both have their pluses and they both have their disadvantages. Shouldn't support Walmart, by the way. That's another story. So I can't really give you an answer on either of those gyms. I'd probably just stick with Fitness World if it were me, and just try to work out during non-busy hours. Or you could drive out to the suburbs and train at one of those massive facilities, and your membership will probably be like $30 a month. Your gas bill is going to be pretty high though, but your membership will be pretty cheap. So anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Friday afternoon. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me your questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also DM me your questions at fitcosgrove_. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a good evening. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.